about this gobbledygooky and crap that I was just complaining about. I know. First he complains about all this stuff, and then what does he do? He does what he's complaining about. Yes, I know. Makes me mad too. But this is what we do. This is what we have to deal with. This is stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous. There is no doubt about it. We are in a very serious mess in this country right this minute, and we can solve it. But the Democrats would rather play patty cake politics and trying to get these nasty statements out in the public eye. They'd rather do that than actually move the country forward. They'll do anything. They'll report any story in an effort to try to keep President Trump from having his day. I have news. This president is going to succeed. This president is going to succeed whether you want him to or not. The reason he's going to succeed is because the people demand it. People demand that he succeed. These politicians that are complaining about Republicans trying to give tax relief to the rich, they've had their chance. They've been in power for all my life. And they just don't get anything done. Politics loves a problem, but hates a solution. I have news. We, the people of the United States, want a government that operates in our interest. We want a government that operates to the benefit of the American people instead of a government that operates in spite of the American people. And we're going to have it. It's our turn. But first, here's the latest on, and there's really, honestly, there's a discussion to have here. But there's a discussion we got to have. But President Trump let loose with an attack on Al Franken late Thursday night, attacking the senator for recently unearthed photographs showing him appearing to fondle the breasts of a fellow entertainer on a USO military tour. The Franken picture, he called it the Al Frankenstein picture, is really bad. It speaks 1,000 words. Where do his hands go? Where do his hands go in pictures 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 while she sleeps? That's a great question. Leanne tweeting through this has been very, very nice. She's accepted the apologies. She's told the story. She said she was mad. She's been upset about it for 10 years. I get it. I understand. I do. But still, at the end of the day, I think she's the only one in the United States keeping this in perspective. For his part, Al Franken is throwing himself on every sword he can find. He's doing a pretty good job. He's handling this okay. But Donald Trump kind of skewered him when it comes to falling on swords. He skewered Al Franken by saying, and to think that just last week he was lecturing anyone who would listen about sexual harassment and respect for women. Leslie Stahl tape, ? So there you go. Congress may be gridlocked when it comes to policy battles. I was just discussing that, but USA Today and Heidi Shibula, she says, hey, Congress may be gridlocked, but the condemnation from lawmakers after allegations of Senator Al Franken sexually harassing a TV host and sportscaster was incredibly swift on both sides of the aisle. True. So the only other thing is to ask and try to figure out, where's this all going to go? What's going to happen to these guys? Is their public life finished? Are they done? You tell me. 844-927-6691. There are a lot of very famous people involved here. Kevin Spacey, a U.S. senator. Are these people done? Are they going to get tossed completely out of public life? You tell me next. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. It's Friday. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All righty.
Cool.
Everything sounding good.
Hmm.
Everything sounding good.
Thanks, man.
I only got a couple clips today of that lady, the Tweeden lady,
Yeah.
describing that. And you want me to send you the write-up?
No.
Okay.
No, you don't have to do that. What you have to do is, let me explain something to you. At some point, I guess Monday, we're going to have the Philip Brown in here. He's the executive producer of this broadcast.
Okay.
And what he's going to do is he's going to be working with you. He'll be on the other side of the glass. We're going to figure out some way of getting him to talk to you so that you guys can talk to each other. And what I want you to do is on a breaking news situation, I want you to figure out what's going on with the broadcast. I want you to work with him on it while I report the news, because I'm going to be too busy. Okay. I'm going to be too busy reporting the news.
Gotcha.
So in that light, what I'm going to want you to do is I'm not looking for people to run the board with my. I don't have board ops. Okay. I have partners in the show.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right.
I have partners in the show, and they get to make contributions. So when you say you've got sound, make sure you go through it with the Philip Brown. He'll talk to me.
Okay.
But the thing about it is that when you've got sound or something like that and you think it's worthwhile, tell me about it and we'll play it. Now, in this particular case, you have sound from Leanne Whedon.
Yeah.
Pick the best cut and tell me what she says. And then we'll play it coming out of the top.
Okay. Well, I got the one where she's describing the picture, but I think the other one is a little better. It's like her describing him grabbing her back of her head and pulling her head to.
You know what? I heard that too. Let's not play that one. Let's play the one about the picture, since that's where the context is.
Gotcha.
But you're right. I agree. That's a better cut. But let's not play it.
Okay.
That makes me uncomfortable.
It's kind of descriptive, yeah.
Now, when I get finished with this studio, it's going to be okay. I do have to change it, though.
Does anybody else do shows out of there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Chuck Charlie Jones does it.
Okay.
Let's see who else. Who else does shows out of here? I'm trying to get this Iris to. I want to be able to see out the window. The only way for me to do that is to turn. Oh, yeah. Okay. That actually did work.
All right. We're back in 30 seconds.
I'm ready. Yeah.
No sweat. It's a habit of like updating.
Yeah.
The time. Like sometimes I had to catch myself because I usually do it during the segment, but I know you don't need me to do that.
Do me a favor. Here, I want you to play this. I want you to play this without comment on my part. Wait 10 seconds after the music starts, and then roll the cut.
Gotcha.
10 seconds.
All right, here we go.
There's a photo of Al doing his, this on my breast, like looking at the camera, just kind of smirking and smiling, like, hey, look at me. He just thought he could get away with it and that it was okay and that it was funny. Nothing like that is ever funny. I mean, is it funny if he does that to your sister or your daughter or your wife? In context of already assaulting me backstage and all the little petty things he was doing to belittle me and how he treated me and sort of, in succession, and then it ended with that. Look, I was afraid to speak out 11 years ago. I wanted to say something, and there were people around me who said, oh my God, you will get annihilated and you will never work in this town again. And I was afraid of that.
Yeah, okay, I hear you. But just how But at the end of the day, okay, now you got to understand something. I am someone who, if you've got a complaint, step up to the table, step up to the plate, and talk about it. Complain. Make your move. If you believe you have a righteous complaint, make it. If you don't believe you have a righteous complaint, don't make it. If you decide that you are not going to give up, if you are not going to make your righteous complaint, then you give up the right to complain. I think that this is indulgence at a ridiculous level, that we're going back 40 years to find something to hang on some guy so he can't sit as a senator in the United States. Seriously? You know, at some point, society punishes people. Society punishes people and they pay off their debt. At some point, that's what penitentiaries are for. If there's no reason, if there's no actual honest repentance, then why doesn't everybody just go to jail for life? The Russians are talking about going and mining the moon. Let's just send all the criminals on Earth to the moon to mine minerals for Russia. But we're in a position here where we're going back 40 years to find political dirt on somebody. Is that just a bit excessive? Moving forward, if you've got a righteous complaint, make it. I was talking with some people, some females that I really care about. And they get manhandled or roughhoused with or something along that, and they just don't want to report it because they just don't want to report it. Well, if you don't want to report it, it didn't happen. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen. Now there's some reality here. There is some reality in this. I have learned over my lifetime that if someone is forced to actually make a complaint, they will second guess it. They'll think about it. They'll process it. And then they'll decide either I'm going to make this complaint or I'm not going to make this complaint. If you decide not to make the complaint, you've decided to not make the complaint. Now, I'm just looking at this objectively in the cold, hard world of reality, which is where I try to live most of my life. Until Leanne Tweeden saw the picture of Al Franken with his hands over her breasts while she was asleep, looking back at the camera, mugging the camera, she had no idea what happened. None. Somebody showed her the picture and she's been mad for 10 years. Well, I think it was longer than 10 years, but we'll just say it's 10 years. Well, now what we're going to do is now we're going to try to take down a sitting United States senator after 10 years. Somebody should have said something then. Oh, but you'd be done in this town forever. You know, what was her name? Old time. O'Hara. What's her first name? Not Rita O'Hara. She was the redhead. She was just absolutely stunningly beautiful. Maureen O'Hara. Maureen O'Hara was the first person in Hollywood, the first female in Hollywood to ever complain about the manhandling that women received at the hands of directors and producers and fellow actors and so on and so on. She was the first one to complain, and she actually thought about quitting at the height of her career. There was never a woman that looked better on Technicolor than Maureen O'Hara. She was stunning. And so this is a part of life, and it's rotten, it's terrible, and it's awful, and so on and so forth. But let's go back to the picture. Did he actually touch her? No. So this is all psychological. Yes. So this exists in a theoretical world then. Right. This picture. Now, the forced kiss in backstage, that's different. I mean, that's different. But let's talk about this picture. Because Americans have a problem. As we come to this conversation, and this is the spirit in which this is intended, nobody knows what sexual harassment is. Is a man hovering his hands over a sleeping woman's breasts sexual assault? He didn't actually touch her. But then again, assault isn't a crime where you actually have to touch someone. Assault is, I'm going to kick your butt. That's assault. So have we identified that have we identified hovering your hands over a woman's breast who's sleeping as sexual assault? Should we? Is that indeed? Because Leanne Whedon makes a great point. If that's your mother, if that's your sister, if that's your daughter, is that okay? Probably not. But what is sexual harassment? What is it? How do we identify it? We have a pretty good idea who's at fault in a car accident. If the nose of your car hits someone else's car, it's your fault. What are the rules of the road when it comes to sexual harassment? Is it a female's sensibilities? Is it the psychological aspect of how she feels at the moment? If that's the case, is there any way to predict how a female is going to feel at the moment under any circumstance? Seriously, answer that question. If sexual harassment is whatever the female feels is sexual harassment at the moment, is there any way for anyone outside of this female in her mind to know what sexual harassment is going to be that day? Do we have any idea? The answer is no, we don't have any idea. Now, is that fair and just and true, and is it legal and so on and so forth? Doesn't make any difference, does it? Makes no difference whatsoever. Can you take it into court? Can you take it into criminal court? Probably not. I mean, do we really want to start charging people for things that are psychological? Do we really want to go down the road of thought crime in the United States? Probably not. So how do we know? How do we know what sexual harassment is? Deborah Rode, a Stanford law professor, quoted by William Cummings in USA Today, said most workplaces follow the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's definition of harassment. There are two types of harassment: quid pro quo harassment, which is in return for sexual favors, I will give you a promotion or a raise; or a hostile work environment, hostile work harassment, which is creating a hostile workplace that interferes with performance. In that particular case, a nasty fax. Remember those faxes that used to get? Yeah, you remember those? Yeah. Dirty jokes around the workplace, lurid commentary about somebody as she walked away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is, when does the conduct rise to the level of interfering with performance? And how offensive does it have to be before either the employer or the courts will take it seriously? It seems to me if there's physical contact, there you go. But what about non-physical contact? Telling a dirty joke at a party. Is that sexual harassment? Is that a hostile work environment? In some cases, yes. Has that ended people's career? Yes. people's careers? Yes, it has. But what is sexual harassment? A lot of people say, well, gosh, it's whatever she thinks it is. Really? What if she's trying to get you out of a job she wants? And that happens too. What the dictionary says about sexual harassment: uninvited and unwelcome verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature, especially by a person in authority, toward a subordinate, such as an employee or a student. Uninvited and unwelcome verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature, especially by a person in authority toward a subordinate, such as an employee or a student. Let's go back to President Clinton. Did President Clinton commit sexual harassment with regards to Monica Lewinsky? Uninvited and unwelcome verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature. I assure you that Monica Lewinsky invited that sexual behavior. She did. But the fact that the President of the United States, arguably one of the highest authorities in the land, was dallying around with a 20-year-old intern, does that take the sexual harassment out of the hands of Monica Lewinsky and put it in the hands of society? See, I'm not trying to nail some political point on the wall. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to find out what this is. What is sexual harassment in the United States of America? What is it? Do we actually get to know in straightforward and understandable terms? Do we actually get to know what sexual harassment is before we guess? In most cases, we do not. The problem with all of this is doubled or tripled or quadrupled when you start putting politics involved, when you bring politics in it. Politics is the formulation and the actual manipulation of the public mood at a particular given time for political or electoral effect. That's what politics is. Roy Moore is probably not actually guilty of any kind of sexual misconduct at all. But because this is in the political realm, and in the political realm, the guy with the biggest voice or the guy who is the biggest idiot wins. The guy with the most imperious attitude towards somebody who is obviously wanting. My God, this person is just beneath human consideration. You. That's right. He is beneath human consideration. You. Don't you think so? Beneath human consideration. You. And it goes through the crowd. Pretty soon, Al Franken is out of a job. Or is he? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But we in this nation must figure out what sexual harassment actually is, so that we can get on with the business of America. Can we please get past this at some point? Let's define it. Let's all agree what it is. Let's stay away from those parameters, and let's move forward with a greater day for the United States of America. What do you think? Huh? You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Call us 844-927-6691.
All right, we're moving right along here.
We are moving right along here. We're moving right along here. Yeehaw!
Got anything planned for the weekend, though?
Yes. Yes, I do. I am going to be a Texas State Guardsman this weekend.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I am a Texas State Guardsman this weekend. And I am I'm going to have a good time. We're going to do some serious work today or this weekend.
Awesome.
Our commander-in-chief is the governor of Texas. And the governor of Texas made a huge mistake the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The Texas State Guard is not a combat force. We're a military force. We're not a combat force. So what ended up happening today is that he named us, well, not today, but last week, he named us as the Texas State Guard an unarmed military force, which made us the softest target in the Texas military department, because we walk around in uniform and people now know that we are unarmed.
Oh, that's no good.
The problem with that is that we are armed, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're not officially armed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in order to maintain the ridiculous, foolish gobbledygooky and crapola of they're not really armed, they won't let us train in armament, which means that all of us are carrying weapons. All of us are carrying weapons.
Yeah.
But now the people think that we're a soft target and we might get attacked. But if we do get attacked, then what are all of us going to do when we draw our weapons?
Yeah.
We need to have a plan.
For sure.
And so we don't have a plan. And we're going to come up with one. And I'm going to do it because I can.
Well, that's a good preparation thing in case, it's always good to prepare.
That's what I thought. I was very happy with that myself. So I get to do that, and I'm very happy about that. Let's see. Wait a minute. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. Let's see. Let's move this over here. Good. Okay. To Ontario. What time is it? Okay, good.
All right, you got 30 seconds.
All right.
All right, here we go in 10 seconds.
In 10 dang seconds. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. It's Friday. You know what that means, of course. It means that there are only 2 more days left in the work week. That's right. Sexual harassment is the subject today. What is it? Do we have any idea? When Gretchen Carlson, a former Fox News anchor who now campaigns against sexual harassment, took the stage at a TED event this month, she described 2017 as a tipping point in the fight against workplace misconduct. But behind the scenes, TED owner Chris Anderson and other senior officials had been grappling with accusations for much of the year at their own conferences, famed for turning short speeches by leading figures into viral videos. that their own particular conferences had not been a safe place for women, and that the atmosphere of predatory male behavior was getting worse. At least 5 people, including a past main stage speaker, told TED officials they were harassed or groped during the organization's flagship conference in Vancouver in April. This, according to interviews and email correspondence seen by the Washington Post. The nonprofit's general counsel, Nishat Routier, said in an email in April to TED's senior leadership that she too had been touched inappropriately but let it go. She added she was finding it difficult to believe the issue was being addressed by TED effectively. We're clearly not doing enough. We did hear from a small number of women attendees at TED 2017 about the harassment. As a result, 2 men were immediately disinvited and won't be returning. TED also said creating a safe and welcoming environment is critical to the success of our conferences. We have no tolerance for harassment of any kind. Since we heard there were issues at our conference in 2017, we took immediate steps to address the specific allegations, worked with leading experts to upgrade our code of conduct. Today, we make a code of conduct extremely clear to all TED conference attendees and encourage our community to report violations. The gatherings are regarded as a place where the likes of former Microsoft chief executive Bill Gates, scientist Richard Dawkins, former Vice President Al Gore could be encountered in the hallways. The organization's talks have been watched online by more than 1 billion people. Most people pay $10,000 apiece to attend and must apply for tickets. And so when you start talking about this situation, it's everywhere. Is it among the elite? Yeah. Why? Well, because they can get away with it. For those of us who are not among the elite, how do we live with this? Here's how you do it. You mind your manners and you keep your hands to yourself. You mind your manners and you keep your hands to yourself. And oh, by the way, at some point, someone might say something that lures you. Better to let it go. Better to just let it go. What is sexual harassment? How do we deal with it as a society? How do we get through a day without committing it? Have women ever committed sexual harassment? What do you do under those circumstances? The same thing? Should the same punishments be at hand? These are all incredibly important questions, aren't they? They require incredibly important answers. Think these things over. This will come up again. We'll talk about it then. This is the Wells Report.
All righty, sir. I'm going to run the heat up my burrito real fast, so I'm back in time.
You're going to heat up your burrito? You're going to heat a burrito?
Heat a burrito.
You're going to heat a burrito.
And see a barista.
Woohoo! I'd like a double cafe. Love a double caffeine macchiato. Jeez. Oh no. Oh no.
All right, we're back in a minute and a half, sir.
Okie dokie. Mm.
30 seconds.
North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. You're listening to the USA Radio Network. Thanks very much for being a part of this radio broadcast. I sincerely appreciate it. By the way, while we were listening to the news from the USA Radio News, we just ran across this article from The Hill. Representative Jackie Speier of California said that the House has paid out $15 million in harassment settlements over more than a decade. It works out to about $1 million a year. A spokesperson later clarified that figure does not only account for sexual harassment claims. One member of Congress has settled a claim there's been a taxpayer settlement, Speier told Chuck Todd on NBC's MTP Daily. We do know there's about $15 million that has been paid out by the House on behalf of harassers in the last 10 to 15 years. We have reported this broadcast. We reported this story on this broadcast. It is a slush fund. It is paid by the taxpayers. It does take care of behind-the-scenes sexual harassment, apparently to the satisfaction of all concerned. Although we really don't know because going with the settlement is not just money paid by the taxpayers, but also is a non-disclosure agreement that lasts from now until death. This, by the way, Representative Jackie Speier, she is a Democrat. She's a Democrat person. She's a Democrat politician. Let's talk about where we find America's mainstream media. I have a couple of articles here, one by Christiane Amanpour, chief international correspondent for CNN, and the other by Essie Cupp, noted conservative columnist. She's brilliant. A few short days ago here in Britain, we marked Armistice Day. It's also called Remembrance Day. She says she always gets emotional. Then she talked about how it's not just people who are fighting the wars that get killed and wounded and maimed, etc. There are also the reporters who are there to report those wars. A few months ago in Malta, a fearless reporter named Daphne Caruana Galizia was blown up in an attack usually reserved only for the war zone. An IED. Imagine that. She was an equal opportunity anti-corruption investigative journalist targeting both government and oppositions to the government. Her last post included the immortal words, "There are crooks everywhere you look now. The situation is desperate." A half an hour later, she was blown to pieces by a car bomb outside her home in Europe, Malta. It shouldn't, but it does seem so much more unacceptable than the arrest and murder of our colleagues and the assault on free speech among the usual suspects. This all proceeds apace in Turkey, Russia, Mexico, Philippines, Iran, Saudi Arabia, India, Myanmar, the list goes on. This assault on truth and facts has now traveled all the way to the land of the First Amendment, the constitutionally free press, the Fourth Estate, she says. In the years since Donald Trump was elected the president of the United States, he and his cohorts have used fake news as the political weapon with which to bludgeon us into submission. She says, "We will not surrender nor bow, but our heads are bloodied." They should be. Christiane Amanpour goes on to say that there are two types of news. First, the type that's also known as lies. Second, the type that is code for "I don't like what you're saying." Neither is legitimate. Both have become embedded in our conversations. Collins Dictionary has named fake news as its word of the year earlier this month. The most terrifying development is it's working with majorities in some states who simply refuse to believe the facts. Christiane Amanpour, the problem with your idea in this wonderful article that you've written, very good point of view, I appreciate it. The problem with it is that fake news is a self-inflicted wound. And your employer is the definer in chief of fake news. CNN, throughout the 2016 presidential campaign, dropped its journalistic pants for the sake of the Democrat Party, the progressive movement in America, and the left. There was fake news. There is fake news. It isn't just lies, although many of the fake news articles that I'm thinking about right now are lies. I mean, we have this train out of control with Roy Moore being tied to the cowcatcher as they head towards a granite cliff called accountability in the United States, one that he does not deserve. Did he do all these things? I don't know, but the media does. The media knows. The media says he did them, so he must have done them. Baloney. Those are not lies, nor are they, I don't like what you're reporting. In other words, you don't know what fake news is either, Ms. Amanpour. The reason you don't know what fake news is because you're too busy practicing it to actually recognize it. You literally cannot see the forest for the trees. One major problem with the mainstream media. There's another. S.E. Cupp, CNN political commentator, the host of S.E. Cupp Unfiltered. Isn't it amazing? Both of these people work for the same company. One actually gets it, one doesn't. S.E. Cupp gets it. Conservative skepticism of the media runs deep. President Donald Trump didn't invent it. Ever since the advent of the media as an industrial complex, large corporate conglomerates based in coastal cities where many of the ad agencies are, it's been a left-leaning, urban-minded, somewhat elitist outfit with a blind spot for conservative America. S.E. Cupp. I told you she was brilliant. As the media merged with Hollywood, another bastion of cultural liberalism, it grew even bolder in its disregard for the common man, the commuting salesman, the farmer, the churchgoer, the truck driver, the Bible reader, the gun owner, clutching both in the dark in the middle of the United States as the elites said that we were bigots, racists, Nazis. And they said it over and over and over and over and over and over again, so much so that they actually believe that that's who we are. From 1966's Is God Dead? Time magazine cover to a portrayal of the returning Vietnam veteran as a ticking time bomb. Remember that? To a newspaper's indiscriminate publishing of law-abiding gun owners' home addresses. The media has become a decidedly secular and leftist business. Today, newsrooms and editorial boards tilt independent, but still with a significant left-right imbalance. A 2014 study of the American Journalist, in quotes, found that 28% of U.S. journalists claim to be Democrat versus 7% who claim to be Republican. That isn't to say that conservatives aren't nestled within the media. In conservatism's intellectual heyday, the 1950s, voices like Irving Kristol, Bill Kristol's father, William F. Buckley, Russell Kirk, along with important publications like Human Events and National Review, help provide an alternative, if not balanced, voice to the liberal landscape. But even the strain of conservative thought often talked far over the heads of everyday traditionalists, for whom Zionism, utopianism, and F.A. Hayek had little to do with their daily lives. But in the late 1980s and mid-1990s, something extraordinary happened. Rush Limbaugh's talk show was syndicated across America in 1988. The Drudge Report was launched as a weekly email in 1995. Fox News hit the airwaves in 1996. In the decades since, conservative media has exploded beyond what Buckley or Kirk could have ever imagined. And not only was conservative media competing, it was corporate. It grew beyond television, took over AM radio. As digital media grew, so did the conservative footprint. Eventually, it got harder and harder to complain. With such a large place at the table, about the liberal media. Oh, believe me, there's still plenty of liberal media out there. It's easy to tell the difference. One of us is lying. And you know which one it is. To this day, religion is still an ill or undercovered subject, despite the majority of the country being religious, 80% of us. In 2010, S.E. Cupp wrote a book called Losing Our Religion, the Liberal Media's Attack on Christianity, which explored this very topic, arguing that Christians were misunderstood, misrepresented, and mistreated by the mainstream media. Completely true. It is persecution. It's very simple. But with Drudge, Limbaugh, and Fox flexing their considerable muscles, the conservative skepticism of the media became a conservative skepticism of the liberal media. Trump drops into the subject on both sides. People hate him. Republicans hate him. Democrats hate him. Left hates him. Right hates him. Dismayed conservatives at buttoned up outfits like the Weekly Standard and National Review, both of them impaled themselves on being never Trumpers, as well as horrified liberals at both establishment and progressive outlets being mad at the liberal media wasn't going to cut it. Suddenly, all media was bad. All news was fake. No, just the fake news. Is Fox News guilty of fake news? Yes. Have I caught them doing it? Yes. Do I report it when I do? Yes. The constant bashing his work, trust in the media is at record lows among Republicans especially, according to Gallup. Is that valid? Should we, the people, trust this media? I say indefatigably no. Without a doubt, no. Do not trust this media. They're lying to you. And how do I know they're lying to you? Well, because I decided that I was going to do a news broadcast every afternoon, and I wasn't going to lie to you. And so every day I start with a blank sheet of paper looking for truth. It's hard to find. It requires incredible work. And some of it's guesswork. Because the truth is so unbelievably disguised and manipulated and spolded and spindled, folded, and mutilated. Truth is processed cheese food that has the twang of the left or right, depending on who's reporting it at the time. We try for something simpler, meat and potatoes. Honest, straightforward, truthful news. But the point of this from S.E. Cupp is that conservatives are walking away from the mainstream media. Is that a good thing? The answer is no. Is it their fault? Are conservatives making a mistake in walking away? The answer is no. And yes. I'll explain next. This is the Wells Report.
All righty.
All righty.
You know what I do for get extra clips sometimes is I keep an eye on the TV, and sometimes when they play a clip on there, I'll just record it off the TV.
Well, that's the way to do it.
Like if they have President Trump or something, and I'll just get their little clip.
Yep.
But
Well, remember, you don't own it. Got to make
Yeah.
sure you get the attribution.
Yeah. Some of them are short, really short, though. You know that the city has a lady that they pay that comes by and makes sure that you're not smoking in the designated non-smoking areas outside the building.
What?
And then it's amazing that they employ somebody to do this. And then if you leave a cigarette butt out there, like one day she found a cigarette butt that somebody left laying out there, and she's like, well, we can fine you $50 a cigarette butt for each one that's out there. And like she came back a month later, found something, and she threatened to fine us with like a couple $1,000s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look at her butt.
Some,
I'm sorry.
talking about the smoking Nazi. No, they find Lisa's work. At Lisa's work, they find Lisa's work $10,000 for all the cigarette butts. No, it was a similar department. The city sends them people out.
Oh God. Unfreaking believable.
All right, we're back in 30 seconds.
Back in 30 dang seconds then.
Chris says he misses you.
Uh-huh. Sure he does. Oh my God. Seriously?
All right, here we go.
Yep. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 866-660-5759. 866-660-5759. I spend a lot of time reporting on the media because I have to. The media is in the worst shape it's ever been in. The media is fraught with crusading reporters who, for whatever reason, believe it is their job to not report the news, but report what the news should be. That's called fake news. It's called propaganda. It's dangerous. Not just dangerous, it's dishonest. It's dishonest and it's damaging. Garbage in. Garbage out. You can't make a decision for the future of this nation, which, by the way, holds the fate of your children in its hands. You cannot make a decent decision about where this nation should go when the news media is corrupt and perverted through the process of propagandist politics. For this reason, the conservative movement has moved away from the mainstream media. I am fortunate in that some of those people have landed at the footsteps or landed at the doorstep of the Wells Report. It has been my mission since 9/11/2001. It's been my mission since 9/11/2001 to report the news truthfully every day. With commentary, with debate. By the way, I have to say that the debate rests with you, and you've been falling down on the job. I know we're just getting to know each other. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. I'm doing the reporting. I'm doing the commentary. Unless, of course, everyone listening to my voice believes everything that I'm saying, which is flattering, but also dangerous. Unless you believe everything that I'm saying, there must be some debate out there somewhere. about something that I've said. Therefore, you should call me 844-927-6691 and spew. Getting back to what we're talking about. Conservatives are walking away from the mainstream media. Is that good? Yes and no. It's good because I have a reason to do this broadcast. Other people have noticed. I was doing this show 8 to midnight on a radio station, a great radio station here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. And somebody said, you know, we need that on the air coast to coast. And here I am. This is something that has to, this has to be. Because we have to have the right news. And I am going to do everything I can to give it to you. But I'm not perfect. I depend on you to keep me on the straight and narrow. I am never going to knowingly lie to you, ever, about anything. But I will tell you this, I will tell you. It's time to start taking part in this broadcast because we come together every day here. Because you can't do it anywhere else. This is our news. This is our show. Yours and mine. I report the news, I give you the facts, I tell you what I think about the facts, and we debate that information. The mainstream media is losing conservatives left and right and center. And they will as long as they continue to believe that propaganda is more important than truth. And that is what they think right this minute. Good for me. Not good for the country. And so, until they get it together, let's continue our work every single day between 2 and 5 here on the Wells Report. It's critical. Coming up next, more last words from JFK. The last words of JFK forever. As we continue on the Wells Report for Friday afternoon, you are listening to the USA Radio Network.
All right, sounding good?
Man,
yep.
I wish people would listen to this show. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I just had 15 people listening, but they all called.
I'm sure you got plenty of listeners. You're probably picking up more too.
I hope. I want the show to win. I really feel like it needs to. God, I go home every day and I wonder, hell, what did I leave out today?
There's always so much, There's so much to go over every day.
Well,
especially with the current climate of everything.
It's like, I didn't really think that I was going to be Paul Lyle. We had this conversation. I was talking about this newscast. He said, if you want to be Edward R. Murrow, go ahead, but nobody's going to listen to you.
Yeah.
I sure hope he's not right.
Well, hey.
Bye, Chris.
Put that back. That's my burrito.
All right, see you, Debbie.
That's my burrito. Put that back, sir.
Put back his burrito. Let his burrito go.
This country legally?
Oh, it's definitely got a green card.
Let my burrito go.
Yeah, exactly. Let my burrito go, sir. Let my burrito go. No, man. The guy's not right, because if he was, Mark Levin and people like that
True.
wouldn't be popular,
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I don't think you have to conform or be like, fit a certain box to be successful, man. I think you just got to do you. And I think a lot of people are like news and political news junkies,
Yeah.
like with the current climate. But I don't know. There definitely isn't a shortage of stuff going on, stuff to talk about. I mean, yeah, we all want you to succeed, because if you succeed, then we all do.
Yeah.
The network and everything.
I think this show has a purpose, and I think it needs to succeed. I'm doing the best I can, but I got to do better. I have to do better.
Well, we got your back, and I'll put in more towards it, and do what we can do as we going forward.
Thank you, my friend. What it's going to take. I can't do it by myself.
Yeah, I know it, man. All right, here we go. Come back in 5 seconds.
Coming back in 5 seconds, dang it. 5 seconds. Everybody pay attention. 5 seconds. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. You can find us if you happen to be driving through Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. You can find us on 1160 AM, KBDT. That's our flagship affiliate here in the DFW Metroplex. You can also find us on YouTube live events. I'm streaming live video as we speak. And you can see my brand new military grade haircut. Let's see what else is going on. You can see us, by the way, on USA Radio. What is our website? USARadionetwork.com. Is that it?
I think it's just usaradio.com.
USARadio.com. Go to USA Radio. What?
That's it.
That's it. USARadio.com. I'm going to go there right now. The reason I'm going to go there is because I want to see. I've got some friends there. I've got friends at USARadio.com, and they put my face on the front of their website, and they put a large arrow that says "Listen Now" right in the middle of my left eye. Ow! So you can jab me in the eye and hear what I'm saying in your ears. So there you go. By the way, you can also see the incredibly beautiful Angela Austin. She is on Daybreak USA. You can see a little card where it says USA Radio News, top of the hour update. And then Wayne Allen Root, who's got a countdown timer. How come I don't have a countdown timer on my show?
Because you're on now. Because
I am on now? His countdown timer is wrong, by the way. He's not on in 3 hours, 23 minutes, and 59 seconds.
Yeah, we got to fix that.
Yeah, you got to fix that. That's wrong. I mean, if you're going to have a countdown timer, you need to have a countdown timer that's right, Michael. Mike Hawkins is the technical coordinator for the radio broadcast you're currently hearing. He is a technical wizard, a god, no less. So that should be actually, 1 hour, 24 minutes. No, I'm sorry, 23 minutes and 33 seconds. Now it's changed. All right. So anyway, you can find streams of the Wells Report. Oh, wait, that says previously recorded. Huh. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Let me see if that's now. See if it's now. Hang on. Streams of the Wells Yes, it is now. Yeah. See, you can hear it now.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Let me see if that's now.
See, it's now. It's now.
Hang on.
Now.
Yes, it is now.
Yes. Okay, so I'll.
So you can hear it now.
Yeah, you can hear it now. Well, actually, it's delayed a little bit, but it's close to now.
It's now.
Now.
No.
No, wait. Wait a second.
Yes.
Put that down. Now I can't get it to stop. It's great. I figured it out. Haha. So, all that being said, let's get back to the business. It was November 22nd, 1963. High-speed bullets ripping through a motorcade carrying a dynamic young man named John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He was in a Lincoln Continental limousine. It was a convertible. The car was open. It was broad daylight. A quick turn down Elm Street, where an assassin waited. 3 or 4 shots later, depending on what you believe, John Fitzgerald Kennedy lay in his death throes in the arms of Jacqueline Kennedy. The explanation, insufficient. Well, exhaustive, but insufficient nonetheless. The entire moment has been replayed in history over and over and over, from the moment that the Lincoln turned left onto Elm Street, an old place called Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas, to the moments when high-powered rifles issued bullets ripping through flesh and changing the world. Everything that had anything to do with that has been looked at, parsed over, changed in some cases. A brilliant young attorney in the Warren Commission came up with something called the magic bullet theory. There were all kinds of mistakes made in the actual investigation. The investigation, the actual assassination, happened in Dallas, Texas, but Dallas police would have nothing to do with the investigation. Before someone could say stop, the limousine was already cleaned, destroying the crime scene. Basic police procedures tossed in the spasm of outrage and surprise, anger and anxiety. As Walter Cronkite issued the news, sometime after 1 o'clock, the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, is dead. The victim of an assassin's bullet. There were many things that were immediately classified as top secret. There were many things that were determined to be required to be outside the American gaze, the gaze of you and me, we the people of the United States, for at least 50 years. That time has come and gone. And so the papers continue to be released. The last words of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. 10,744 FBI records. These will very likely prove to be more interesting than the first batch that were just released. insofar as the FBI came up with a different conclusion in their investigation. 10,744 FBI records, some have never been previously disclosed, relating to the assassination of JFK in 1963. It is the fifth release of Kennedy assassination records this year. The National Archives said 8,336 documents are being released in their entirety. 2,408 are being released with limited redactions. A total of 144 records are being released for the first time. Most of the collection comprises 5 million pages of records that had been released to the public, but documents have been withheld over the years to protect individuals, intelligence sources and methods, and national security. This is an excuse that has worn very thin over the years as independent investigations have come up with far more damaging conclusions than what the truth is likely to be. Yet, the purveyors of the truth remain silent. The purveyors of curiosity, heartache, and anxiety continue to look for the true answers. The latest documents are being released according to a law that President George H.W. Bush signed October 26, 1992. That law required all records related to the assassination be released within 25 years unless the president says doing so would harm intelligence, law enforcement, military operations, or foreign relations. Last month, on the 25-year deadline, President Trump wrote in a memorandum that he had no choice but to agree to requests from some government agencies to continue withholding certain information. Trump, however, directed those agencies to again review each of their redactions. He said that agency heads needed to be extremely circumspect in recommending that all information still needed to be withheld from the public. I've got to be perfectly honest with you. There's no excuse for this. No excuse whatsoever. No excuse that there would be information from 1963 that should be withheld from the American people in 2017. There's no excuse. Except, of course, for one story. One. The only one that makes any sense whatsoever. Which is that regardless of the pomp and circumstance of a former Supreme Court justice, a Chief Justice at that, being given a commission to determine exactly what happened on that afternoon in Dallas, Texas, in November of 1963, regardless of all of the volumes and tomes and words, the truth is still not out yet. Which is the only reason that there would be redactions. The only reason there could be. The CIA is at the center of this. In an article from last week, the CIA delayed responding to requests for information about its longtime counterespionage chief, James Angleton, as it tried to minimize the disclosure of his activities related to Soviet defectors and the assassination of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. On May 31st, 1979, an internal CIA memo about a Freedom of Information Act request from author David Martin read this way, quote, "Don't answer his initial request any sooner than necessary," unquote. Quote, "When we do, deny release of any of the information, maintaining it's still classified and involves protection of sources and methods," unquote. The exact same words used in the last few days by the exact same agency, probably for the exact same reasons. Martin was seeking information about the agency's handling of Yuri Noshenko, a former KBG agent who defected to the U.S. in 1964. Angleton and some of his colleagues in the CIA and FBI considered Nosenko a possible double agent. The CIA memo was one of dozens about Angleton included in the 13,213 files released last week by the National Archives. They show that concerns and frustrations about the work Angleton did during his CIA tenure and the difficulty investigators had in getting access to his files at the agencies. Well, isn't that crazy that a counter-espionage chief would have his files protected? No, it's not crazy. It's completely predictable. Angleton was the agency's main conduit of information to the Warren Commission, the 7-member panel appointed by President Lyndon Johnson to investigate the assassination. Angleton did not tell the commission about the CIA's involvement in attempts to overthrow or kill Cuban communist dictator Fidel Castro, which factored into later conspiracy theories. Acknowledged assassin Lee Harvey Oswald's life in the Soviet Union between 1959 and 1962, support for Castro, and contacts with Cuban and Soviet diplomats in Mexico City dominated the CIA's interest in Oswald and Angleton's attention. Angleton's treatment of Nosenko, a former KGB agent, dominated many documents in the JFK files. Nosenko told his U.S. intelligence handlers the KGB had no connection with Oswald, whom Soviet intelligence officials considered unstable. However, Angleton placed more faith in the words of another defector, Anatoly Golitsyn, who claimed that Nosenko was a fake. The CIA interrogated Nosenko for 3 years in the 60s, often subjecting him to harsh treatment before concluding in 1969 that he was legitimate. As more and more of the details of his 30-year-old spy career have emerged, it's become clear that Angleton's legacy at the CIA was a uniquely disastrous one. And so we have these papers, some still redacted. So the entire story will have to wait for yet another day. More of the story we have today comes up next. You are listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network.
Alrighty, sounding good.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, I miss you.
Hello, my little kitten.
I miss that haircut of yours.
Ah.
Yeah, I know there's a couple things about that website that we need. See you later, man. I know there's a couple things about that website we got to update, man.
I'm just glad I'm on it. I feel very, very happy.
Awesome.
Have a good weekend, JD.
Take good care, Stud. Thanks very much for all your work. Do we get a best of or something put together?
What, for this weekend?
I
Yeah.
think it's for this weekend. Yeah.
It's already done. It's in the system.
Yeah, it's already in the system.
Oh, wonderful. Cool
It's the
deal,
worst
man.
Stuff.
Huh?
He's just joking. He said it was the worst stuff.
I'm not joking. I'm just kidding. Uh-oh. Hey.
All right, we got 1 minute to go. We got. It looks like Chris is picking up the microphone.
Hey, JD.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're all set for this weekend. pal.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody's looking forward to the worst stuff. I'm just messing with you, man. You know, I love
Cute.
you. No, you're all set for this weekend, and I'm going to talk to Mike how we're going to go about Thursday and Friday. So,
What? Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, we got to figure out something.
we will. I'm not worried about it. Have a great weekend, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're back in 10 seconds.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is easy to remember if you have an almost perfect memory. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. In the latest release before this one, this 10,700 something or other, on December 18th, 1997 letter from the Assassination Records Review Board, the agency responsible for JFK documents, was sent to the CIA that complained about the agency's delays in providing information about key files, including the fate of Angleton's last or vast records. Because of the perceived controversy surrounding the disposition of Angleton's files, the review board believes it's prudent to obtain a clear understanding of the types of files he maintained and their ultimate disposition. That's not something that the CIA is going to give away. It's counterintelligence. I appreciate the complaint. I get it. But counterintelligence is different. You cannot just blurt out whatever happens to be in the files of a counterintelligence director. You just can't. Several memos related to the fate of a manuscript of a novel written by Winston Scott, the longtime CIA station chief in Mexico City, where Oswald traveled in September of '63 to attempt to get visas to travel to Cuba and the Soviet Union. When Scott died, Angleton appeared at his home, took copies of the manuscript as well as his personal effects with him. The manuscript contains dramatic inaccuracies about Oswald's visit to Mexico City, said CIA official S.D. Breckinridge on October 6th, 1978. Really? Breckinridge's memo quotes John Horton, a CIA official who worked with Scott, saying Scott had gone to seed and told war stories about battles that he had not fought. Huh. Interesting. The Angleton documents and others released under the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992, which October 26th, as the final deadline to release them, 2,900 files were released that day. Some others were kept secret because of requests from the CIA and FBI, which feared their release could compromise national security. Poppycock. Poppycock. So here is where we stand. We are going to get these last pieces of paper, these last records, this last testament to the last American president who was assassinated, the only one in broad daylight in a major metropolitan city with at least a half a dozen professionally trained law enforcement officials from law enforcement agencies looking on. We still don't know exactly what happened that day. Who is it that we are protecting by not sharing this information with the people of the United States? Our nation has a thorn in its paw, one of several. But with every day that goes by, the festering becomes less and less necessary and more cruel. Angleton, Dulles, all of these people have their place in American life. They do. The loss of the president haunts us to this day. Let's resolve this, shall we? This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more hour to go on this Friday.
I've noticed with
Do you do more stuff after that, or do you get to get off?
on Fridays I get to leave. You know, I do other stuff. Bacon, lettuce, tomato, pepper jack, and chipotle sauce. Let's see. Yeah, on regular days, I go back home and I will try to cruise through the news one more time before I go to bed. Just keep everything fresh in my head. I'll do some study.
Yeah.
I'll do some studying.
Well, I'm gonna try to take it easy this weekend, man. But
You are?
yeah, just last weekend we ran around and went to looking for a house because I rent an apartment right now, and me and my girlfriend looking for a bigger place.
That's nice.
So,
You and your girlfriend looking for a better place.
yeah, she's got a little she's got a son. He's like 2 years old, and so I help her take care of him because the kid's dad passed away. The kid's actual dad like passed away when he was like right after he was born or something. And but me and her are doing good. Like and the kid loves me. He calls me dad and everything.
Good.
And, he's really cool. But yeah, we're looking for a bigger place to get him more room because I only have a 1-bedroom apartment right now and it's getting kind of crowded.
Yeah.
But trying to play. Then on Friday and Sunday last week we went to this railroad park thing where they had the little railroad that drives around and you can ride on the train and look at old trains and all that. It was pretty fun.
Cool, man. I raised my ex-old best friend's boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I used to not. I used to think. I used to wonder if I would do that, but sometime like after I met her, you know, it just, you know, he was. Sometime along the way, I just came to love him, man. You know.
Well, you just have to. When you
Yeah,
have your own, it's different.
that's what everybody tells me.
When you have your own, it's different. But then, you know, when it came down to Corey's situation, what ended up happening is that, you know, we made it very clear that I chose him.
Yeah,
I chose him.
yeah,
He's my baby. He's mine. And that's just the way it is.
yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I bet I've had. Let's see. Getting back to the chat room on YouTube live events. Okay, John Marshall. If you're gonna whistle the theme, if you're gonna whistle, do the theme from the Andy Griffith Show. And Yvonne says, "I've been doing Who Shot the Sheriff." Yes, it's been stuck in my head. I don't know why. You'd like to hear what? Charlie Dorr? Charlie Dorr. What song did he do? Huh. Can't remember. I remember him. I do. I remember him. Pilot of the airwaves. You're exactly right. Yes. Let's see. Oh, you're talking about Stephen Poppel. Yeah. Yeah, you choose. Well, with Corey, it was even more. It was even closer than adoption.
Yeah.
I love the two people involved in creating Corey. It wasn't hard for me to love the result.
Yeah, that's
The circumstances were a little annoying. I'll be honest, but when it came right down to it, I loved Gary and I loved Cosette at the time, and now she's pressed herself completely into insignificance in my life. She's, you know, I couldn't care less. Indifferent.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent to her.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that I was in the room when Corey was born to my wife. I signed his birth certificate. I named him. I was the first human being to hold him.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
And he's mine.
Yeah.
And I told him that the other day. It was like when he came for Mitchell's wedding, and we finally had a nice talk.
Here we go. We're coming back.
Coming back. I'm ready. North to south, coast to coast, you are listening to the Wells Report. Hi, my name is John David Wells. Friday in progress. I hope you have a wonderful weekend plan, all set and ready to execute at your earliest possible opportunity. I'm going to go serve with the Texas State Guard this weekend. I can hardly wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Which is why I have the very high and very tight and very, very, very good military haircut. If you go to youtube.com live events on YouTube or Google Plus Hangouts, and if you search for the Wells Report, I think you'll find it. Okay. I mean, let me talk to the people in the live chat room. If you go to YouTube and you type in the Wells Report, you'll get a bunch of the old ones. How do you get the new ones? Does anybody know? And who's watching? I have never, ever seen the show on a Google Plus Hangout. I've only seen it on YouTube live events. So does anybody have Does anybody have does anybody have like listening to this broadcast on Google Plus? If you do, send me an email, will you? TheWellsReport@frontier.com. TheWellsReport@frontier.com. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, I have a question. Who owns the moon? Who owns the moon? Who owns the moon? Telephone number is 844-927-6691. Who is the legal possessor of the moon? I need to know. The reason I need to know is because I am very much interested in something that just came down the pipe today. Okay? According to NASA, and according to the United Nations Outer Space Treaty signed by every spacefaring country, no nation can claim sovereignty over the Earth's lunar satellite. 102 countries have entered into the 1967 Accord. China joined in 1983. Space law scholars debate whether the treaty actually implicitly prohibits or allows private ownership on celestial bodies. Some commercial companies, such as Bigelow Aerospace, are hoping to use the ambiguity of the treaty's language to their advantage. Founded in 1999, based in Las Vegas, the firm claims or aims to manufacture inflatable space habitats. It already has an agreement with NASA to expand the International Space Station by using a flexible module. It's done that, by the way. The module has been pressurized. It worked just fine. Thank you very much. They also plan to devise a plan for a privately developed NASA-financed lunar base architecture. To that end, they found a radar satellite, and the radar satellite found some very cool caverns in the moon, which of course could be used to protect astronauts from all manner of solar flares and stuff along that line. Okay, it was very cool. Now, the interesting thing about it is that the Russians are planning to colonize the moon and start exploiting and exploring its natural resources. After more than 40 years since it carried out its last lunar mission, which, by the way, was the disastrous explosion of an N-1 rocket, Moscow is plowing 30 million pounds, which is about 45 to 50 billion or million dollars. It's not that much money, into a new spaceship bound for Earth's satellite. Vladimir Putin has instructed his space agency to make a first landing on the moon within 15 years. As a part of the drive, Luna 25, formerly known as Luna Glob, the Russians really do need to work on naming their. They need to work on the names of their explorers. Luna Glob, really. Anyway, Luna 25, which is the 25th in a series of very successful lunar automated probes, robots, will be sent to explore the moon's south pole. The module is going to land in the Bogoslavsky crater in the South Pole and begin to drill. The last Soviet lunar mission was sent in 1976. Okay, I was talking about a manned mission. I'm sorry. It was Luna 24. The probe made a soft landing, collected soil samples, and then returned to Earth. The spacecraft will be gathering and transmitting information from the landing station. No cosmonauts are going into space this time. Instead, there will be an automated space station directing an unmanned spacecraft. As previously reported, a cyber cosmonaut will be sent ahead of tackling of the main mission to tackle more ambitious tasks on the lunar landscape. The cyber astronaut will be sent to the International Space Station ahead of tackling more ambitious, whatever. The key task will be to assist in construction and the use of bases on the moon and potentially other planets, said its Russian designers. The mission will mark the return of Russia as a space power at a time when its military adventures are also mirroring the Cold War. The two superpowers, the United States and Russia, are locked in an arms race, analysts warned, meaning a conflict is likely in the future unless both sides reach an agreement over the militarization of space. Meanwhile, rocket technology is threatening the peace on terra firma. U.S. military chiefs are ignoring a landmark weapons ban after discovering Russia was flouting rules on developing ground-based cruise missiles, etc., etc., etc. So the Russians are going to the moon. The Russians are going to the moon. They're going to do so in the next 15 years. I suggest that we do that too. I suggest that we colonize the moon immediately. But I want to know who owns it. We were there first. It's our flag that's there. How come we don't own the moon? Isn't that the way it used to be? That's the way it used to be. There was a great movie out there called The Martian. Matt Damon did a brilliant job with that movie. It was okay. It was mostly okay. There were some problems with the special effects. There's certain things that you cannot do. You can't change direction in space when you're weightless. You can't do that. Anyway, they did that a few times, and I said, yeah, it's very distracting. But anyway, that being said, at some point, we're going to need to go to the moon. And the reason that we need to go to the moon is because it's there. Everything we need to live is already there. We can use what's there on the moon to give ourselves air to breathe, grow food, any number of other things. All we have to do is just decide to go again, like we did before. We simply need to decide to go. But who owns the moon? And what are the Russians going to do? Who are they going to pay for whatever it is that they mine off the moon? And there's one other thing. Are you ready? What's the Sierra Club going to do when people go up to the moon and start digging into it and start taking things from it? Are they going to freak out? Are they going to say, you're disturbing the moon's delicate echo structure? Well, you see, there is no echo structure on the moon. I mean, there is no way. I mean, there's no ecology on the moon. It is a dead radioactive rock. Well, it's got rocks and dust and dirt and so on, and it's got stuff that we can live with and so on. But what I want to know is this. I want to know who owns the moon. If it's not us, then who is it? Telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. I think somebody should pay us, we the people of the United States, for stuff they take off the moon. I'm just saying. Okay, so there's more information on this treaty. Copious, that's C-O-P-U-O-U-S, was established in 1958 and made permanent in 1959. As of mid-2016, it had 77 members, including all of the major spacefaring nations. The United Nations describes the committee as the focal point where international entities will negotiate. Stop calling me. Will negotiate on just exactly how to use space peacefully Well, okay, I can see that. But what we need is we need to use the moon peacefully. We need to grab important stuff. That's what we need. We need to bring stuff back from the. What if there's gold there? What if there's moon gold? Do you remember if you were a person that used to read Dick Tracy, they had this entire series of the comic strip having to do with moon gold. What if there's gold up there? There's not going to be oil up there, but there should be mineral wealth there. There could be aluminum and there could be all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so what I'm trying to figure out is what's going to happen here. The duties of this United Nations committee include exchanging information about space, keeping tabs on government and non-government organizations and what they're doing in space, promote international cooperation. This committee also formed 2 subcommittees in 1962 to deal with legal issues, scientific and technical developments. Secretariat services are provided by the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNUSA. So COPUOS is the force behind 5 treaties and 5 principles that govern much of space exploration. Okay, here are the main fundamentals having to do with space exploration. Space is free for all nations to explore. Sovereign claims cannot be made. Space activities must be made for the benefit of all nations and humans. So nobody owns the moon. Nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction are not allowed in Earth orbit, on celestial bodies, or other outer space locations. Individual nations are responsible for any damage their space objects cause. Individual nations are also responsible for governmental and non-governmental activities conducted by their citizens. These states must also avoid harmful contamination because of space activities. So we've come up with an answer. No one owns the moon, so we all own the moon. Great. What now? Are we going to go mine the moon? The Russians want to. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right.
Well, there you go. Was that worthwhile?
They really want to mine the moon?
Yeah, they want to mine the moon.
That's crazy. And that's something recent?
Came out today.
That's crazy.
Moon mining. Oh my God, a Davida baby. Well, here we go. Wonder what this. I wonder who called me. I can get a flu shot at my pharmacy. That's what they wanted to tell me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what they called for?
Yeah, that's what they called for.
Wow.
That's what they called for. Called for. La 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 la. Okay, where are we? Okay. The best of what's this and okay. What are you listening to?
I accidentally hit something.
Wow. Never had a flu shot. Believe me, after your first real case of the flu, you won't ever
Miss it?
miss it
Well, maybe I should get it then.
again. Yes.
Here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, the Friday Flameout. This is your opportunity to whine, moan, groan, complain, gripe, grouse, express your extreme displeasure with whatever it is that drove you the craziest this week. Up to and including anything I may have said. I, your helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, thrifty, brave, cleaner, reverend announcer. It is the Friday Flameout. Your opportunity to complain about something that bugged you this week in front of the whole nation. Why do we do this? It's a public service rendered on behalf of your cat. We don't want you to come home from work today without getting your frustrations out so that when he walks up to you and goes, meow, you don't kick him in his fuzzy little patoot. Yeah. We're protecting cat patoots all over the country, and we don't want your cat to go without the protection of an unkicked patoot. So take part in the Friday Flameout if you could. We had a wonderful, we did it for the first time last week. And people called us on the phone and complained. We had great complaints. Wonderful ones, in fact. By the way, if you don't have a complaint of your own and you would like one will be provided without cost. Because I can complain about a lot of things. So we're talking about the moon. We're talking about how Vladimir Putin has decided that what he's going to do is he's going to start mining the moon. He set aside $30 million for a craft that will go to the moon. It will cost more than that. It will cost more than $30 million. So you probably come up with the lander. You probably come up with something very much like the Apollo stack, the lander and the service module and the command module. You probably come up with something like that for about $30 million, but you're going to have to get it there. From what I understand, America has been flirting for a long time with replicating some of the technology from the old days of NASA, specifically those amazing those F1 rocket engines, 5 of which lifted the Saturn V off of the pad and sent the whole big stack towards the moon. I'm not concerned whether Russia has the rocketry capable of doing it. I'm just concerned that they haven't really done something like this for a long time. It's real easy to kill people under these circumstances. But we do need to go back to the moon, and we need to go back to the moon at our earliest possible opportunities. And the reason that we need to go back to the moon is because that's how we're going to learn to go to the other planets. Because the technology that we figure out for the moon is the technology that we'll use to land on Mars. And what makes it even better is that we can launch the Mars mission from space bases on the moon. How cool would that be? Because what you could do is you could wait until nighttime and you could look up in the sky and you could see a rocket leaving the moon. How cool would that be? How cool would it be to be able to look up at the moon and see lights there. Probably just as cool as it would be to be on the moon looking back down at the earth and seeing lights here. I mean, think about this a little bit. I am very interested in what you might think about going back to the moon. It's important that we figure this out because somebody's going to go to the moon and make a lot of money. I'd like it to be us. Don't you want it to be us too? It should be us. I mean, we made all of those big investments. Come on, let's get some of our money back. Let's charge tickets to go to the moon. Huh? How much should it cost for someone to take a cruise? It should cost $25 million per person. For that, you get a license to go and trundle around on the moon. You get a license to land, trundle on the moon, and scorch the moon coming back. Voila. By the way, the Declaration of Legal Principles came from 1963. It laid down guiding principles, including the idea that space explorations would benefit all mankind. That's good. The broadcasting principles had to do with television broadcast signals. These principles include the idea of non-interference with other countries' signals, the provision of information to help with knowledge exchange, and the promotion of educational and social development, particularly in developing nations. Okay. I think this is awesome. I wish the Russians luck. I just wish it was the United States of America going instead of them. Coming up next on the Wells Report, we got the Friday Flame Out. Your opportunity to whine, moan, groan, complain, gripe, grouse. In other words, complain about whatever that you wanted to on the last moment of the Wells Report as we continue into the weekend. This is the USA Radio Network.
All right. So you're probably gonna get some calls on that, huh?
What? The Friday Flame Out?
Yeah.
I don't know. We did last week.
All right. Cool.
All righty then.
Oh, we're back in 1 minute.
One damn minute. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Gotta open my energy drink.
So we've heated burrito. You've heated a burrito.
Mm-hmm.
Done a burrito heating, and now you're opening an energy drink.
Yeah, I got 3 more hours to go of the
3 more hours.
I got Wayne's show to do as soon as yours goes off. I got to connect him.
You got to
And,
connect them.
Yeah. Then we'll get through that. Then I got about an hour after his show to get everything taken care of, and then I can get out of here. All right, sir. Here we go in T-minus 10.
I'm ready. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells, and it's official. It's here. It's the Friday Flameout. This is your opportunity to call us and complain about something that happened this week. Lots of fodder for your complaint. This is a chance for you to complain, to vent your spleen in front of everyone in America. You don't get many chances like this. You shouldn't blow this opportunity. We had a wonderful chance. We had a wonderful Friday Flameout last week. The participants were excellent. Let's see if we can do that again. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. It is the Friday Flameout. And yes, by the way, you are perfectly welcome to complain about something that I may have said. Now, this is hard for me because usually what ends up happening when somebody complains about something I say, I have a tendency to want to react to it. Well, I can't. I'm not supposed to react to it. So I will ask you if you mind if I react. And you can say no. This is your complaint. Okay? Yours. And only yours. I'm just saying. Telephone number, once again, is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. This, by the way, is the closest thing to an open line segment that we have on the Wells Report. Okay, this is the closest thing we have. So you have to use it as best you can. We do not, under any circumstances, allow people just wander off at the mouth. You have to have a complaint. All right. You have to have a complaint. It has to be real. And I think that this pretty much starts us off right. Steve, is this Steve from Rosser, Texas?
Yes, sir, it is.
Hey, Steve from Rosser, how are you, boy?
Brother, I'm doing pretty good, man. I got a Friday flame out. I got to get something off my chest today.
I'm listening.
All this construction around DFW Airport, man, did anybody not think this through around DFW area?
Oh,
every interstate seems like
everybody.
Every interchange, interstate bypass is covered up,
Everybody
man.
failed to think this through. If you're saying if you're asking if somebody failed to think this through, everyone failed to think it through. Everyone.
It definitely fell through a lot of cracks, man. You can't go one way or the other or any major road out here in DFW
yes,
without hitting construction and backup, man.
Right.
That's been weighing on me, burning my biscuits, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I hope that you feel a little bit better now that you've been able to get it off your chest, so you don't go home and kick your cat's patoot.
Thank you, JD.
You're welcome, brother. See, it's just that simple. See, Steve feels better now. Steve has been able to get off his chest something that's been bugging him all week. If you happen to live anywhere near, well, you know what life in the boomtown is. Life in the boomtown is tough because they're building things left and right and center. Here in Texas, in North Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, what they're doing is they're redoing all of our freeways. And what they're doing is they're putting 4-lane freeways inside 6-lane freeways and giving us the option to use the expressways for a fee. It's okay. You kind of have to guess on your way up there, and you spend money that you don't have to spend. Sometimes you don't spend money that you should spend, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when they get this network of freeways done with these freeways within a freeway, it'll actually be good. Now, I don't know exactly how long it'll take before we can get rid of all of the tolls, but we'll figure that out as time goes by. But yeah, driving in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas is a pain in the butt. It is, however, getting better, at least where I drive. At least where I drive, I'm in a situation where they're getting ready to finish this gigantic project. North and south running freeways have a tendency to split in cities where there are more than one city, like Dallas, Fort Worth, Minneapolis, St. Paul, stuff like that. Well, and the Dallas, Fort Worth is no different. So we have 35E and 35W. 35W is where I live next to, and it's a pain. Oh my gosh. Awful. So when you hear him complain about an honest to goodness, serious complaint, heartfelt about the traffic around here, he's doing the right thing. Okay, so that's a good one. Well done. Telephone number 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. Join us with your complaint on the Friday Flameout. A few years ago, I looked into the future and foretold a moment that I thought would be crossing our consciousnesses. And I was reasonably sure that, yes, indeed, our consciousnesses were going to catch up with the fact that if we weren't very, very careful, we were going to have robots doing our killing for us. Now, according to AFP and Ben Simon, out of Geneva, Switzerland, robots are not taking over the world, the diplomat leading the first official talks on autonomous weapons assured today, seeking to ease criticism over how slow progress towards restricting the use of so-called killer robots. The United Nations, wrapping up an initial 5 days of discussions on weapon systems that can identify and destroy targets without human control, is currently underway. The meeting of the UN's Convention on Conventional Weapons marked an initial step towards an agreed set of rules governing such weapons. Ugh. Activists have warned that time was running out. The glacial pace of UN-brokered discussions was not responding to an arms race already underway. Ladies and gentlemen, I have news for you. The robots are not taking over the world. Humans are still in charge. India's disarmament ambassador, Amandeep, there we go, Amandeep Gill. His name is Amandeep, who chaired the CCW meeting, said, I think we have to be careful not to emotionalize all this. Okay. I think that's a wonderful plan too. But here's the thing. I don't think we want to have killer robots. We don't want to have robots up there flying around in some battle zone somewhere picking off people when they didn't get an order and a permission to pick off that person from another person. This does represent kind of a departure from me, because I believe that you shouldn't have any management whatsoever talking to another robot about killing a human being. if you're going to do something like that, you need to have the human being, you need to have somebody, you need to have the robot talking to a human being and telling it no, and then have the human being actually, or excuse me, the robot actually pay attention to the human being. See, that's the problem I have. What if they don't? Yikes. Logan from Arlington, Texas, welcome to the Friday Flameout, sir. What is your complaint?
Well, sir, it's an age-old complaint, and it's great listening to you.
Thank you.
And watching the chat, and it's, hello, Sandy, and hello, Yvonne, and Steven, and all you guys out there in the chat room. But honestly, it just goes back to very simple. I'm mad and angry about the fact that not enough good Americans, at least as far as Texas goes, and South Dallas, not enough good American, well-trained, honest, certified gun owners and gun carriers are out on the streets to protect the citizens, because it takes too long to call a cop, and by the time the cop gets there, well, it's time to call the meat wagon. What say you?
The meat wagon. What say I? Well, it's like this. You know what I say. I say that when seconds count, cops are only minutes away. And I say that at some point that the wolf is going to come calling. And I say that at some point you are going to have to, you're going to have to make a decision. And it's going to be a deadly force decision. And you're going to have to decide whether or not you're going to be the victim of deadly force or the dispenser of it. The day that you got home without being shot at is the day that the sniper looked the other direction. I realize that that may sound a little paranoid, but we live life in the terrorist world. The terrorists that have absolutely no problem whatsoever in being a part of a society it wants to kill. We may be badly damaging ISIS, but they're not going away. And we had better be ready to defend ourselves under those circumstances. Because as we found out, it's not just ISIS. Not just ISIS. You have to be ready to defend yourself from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Thanks, Logan. I appreciate it. Maybe one of these days what we'll do is we'll start working with a gun range who will give us an opportunity to teach a license to carry class. But not just the license to carry class. What does it actually mean to operate a weapon? Let me get to Jeff from Salina, Texas. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Wells Report.
Glad to be here, JD. I don't have a aggravated thing. I actually got something I'm kind of happy about this week. I'd like to say, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I have to write it down so I don't mess it up.
Okay.
I'm glad to see that Weinstein, Frankenstein, and Stallonestein are taking some of the heat off Roy Moorstein.
There you go. Well, in my case, I think that's very funny. Here's the thing. There are guys that, for whatever reason, like women. And there are guys who are, shall we say, more or less gifted in dealing with women as human beings. I assure you that women are human beings and that you should treat them with the utmost in respect, or they will stab you. Now, we haven't gotten to the stabbing yet, but I assure you it will happen. At some point, a female in some workplace is going to have enough. And what she's going to do is she's going to look at somebody like Al Franken and so on, and just reach into her purse, grab out a perfect little knife that was designed exactly for that purpose, and stab the guy right above his belly button. Now, it probably won't kill him, but it will hurt a lot, and he'll have to go to probably emergency room for surgery and so on and so forth. And I doubt very sincerely that he would ever sexually harass a female again. Question is, do we arrest the female? Not sure. I mean, I'm sure that there are things that happen to women in professional situations that really do require a stab wound of some kind. I mean, you know, and I hate to throw that out there, but I'll be honest with you. You know, if you're a female and you're being sexually harassed by some jerk, you know, you might want to consider just a nice little utility knife. They make them; they're all over the place. You know, just you know, I don't have to worry about it because I mind my manners and keep my hands to myself. But women, if you listen to women, and I do, if you listen to women for any length of time, they are beginning to get angry at us, and we need to throttle that back a bit. So one more time, Jeff, thanks again for your phone call. So one more time with verve and much enthusiasm. Okay? Mind your manners. Keep your hands to yourself. We are in a post, I've got a great line at a bar world. Don't do it. Just show up there well-groomed, well-dressed, be smiling, have a nice fat bankroll, walk up to the bar, sit down, and wait for a woman to buy you a drink and then buy you dinner. Do not buy her dinner or a drink. She needs to buy you dinner and a drink. And then mind your manners and keep your hands to yourself, and you should be able to get through that endeavor. Maybe even keep your job. This is the Wells Report. It's not a 21-foot law. It's a 21-foot rule. Oh, yeah. Are you talking about the needle on a compass? Ms. Iman?
What was that? I didn't catch that.
Well, Yvonne Field, who, by the way, is a hot blonde, she's currently on the chat room. She said, I can remember in MS, I don't know what that is. A guy kept hitting me in the chest. She said she was flatter and fitter back then. Okay. So she buried a compass in his leg the next time he tried it. He left me alone after that. A drafting compass. Yeah, so the one with the needle on it.
Oh, wow.
That would hurt.
Yeah.
Ow. Flatter than a flitter? Is that what you said? Oh, that was middle school? Oh, middle school. MS, middle school. Middle school. She kept hitting you in the chest. He kept hitting you in the chest. So you stabbed him. Hashtag respect women or get stabbed. Yeah. Yeah. Our Hispanic brethren know this, by the way.
Yeah.
Our Hispanic brethren are up to this. They know about this. Just so you know. You know, that's why there's not a whole lot of people there are not a whole lot of people that are rushing to the head of the line to sexually harass a Latino woman. It's a bad idea. Just don't do it. Man, I'm starting to really like this show. I truly, truly am.
Well, good.
Nice to be able to get through without a bulletin.
Yeah. Sure.
Boy, you know what? What's really interesting to me?
What's that?
Roy Moore. As soon as they discovered that he could prove that the yearbook entry was a forgery,
Yeah.
all of it stopped.
Yeah.
Just exactly what I said was going to happen happened.
I hope that they haven't already damaged them enough, though. But it doesn't
All they
seem
have
like-
to do just let the voters of Alabama decide it.
I know, man. People try it.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is.
And then, of course, it's going to be in the hands of the Senate Ethics Committee.
Yeah.
If they decide to go down that route, I would suggest that they don't do that. By the way,
I would too. All right, here we go.
I'm ready. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. You have scant moments left to get through on the Friday Flameout and complain about whatever it is that drove you the craziest this week. Up to and including anything I may have said, you can complain about me if you'd like. I will listen patiently, and I will listen attentively. I'm a student of this game, and I want to get good at it, and if I did something wrong, I want to know what it is. My particular Friday Flameout is one having to do with Judge Roy Moore. I watched the stories unfold. I was shocked as they continued to unfold. I waited for the inevitable proof of what these people were trying to say, which never occurred. I then began to get annoyed at people trying to convince Judge Roy Moore in the court of the mainstream media, which is a vapid and accursed court that would make any kangaroo court in any baseball locker room anywhere in the United States look like the Supreme Court. These tin god snots that want to cast the first stone are violating just about nearly all the rules of good behavior. You are innocent in this nation until you are proven guilty, not the other way around. Not the other way around, even when it comes to politics. We know that's true because Bob Menendez is still a sitting senator in the Senate of the United States, and he was actually indicted. There is absolutely no cause or justification to call for Judge Roy Moore to abandon the election that he's won, or to abandon the election that he's about to win, or not. The people of Alabama will decide this story. The people of Alabama will. We already know that Mitch McConnell doesn't want to have any part of Judge Roy Moore in the Senate of the United States. We already know that that's the case. But it's not his call. It's the voters of the United States. And the voters of the United States will have their say. Period. The one other thing about this case that really gets me mad is the epic dishonesty, again involving one Ms. Gloria Allred. Gloria Allred, for whatever reason, finds this person who finds this high school yearbook who suddenly says, well, I've got a signature from Roy Moore. The only problem with it was the signature was from not Judge Roy Moore signing in her yearbook. It was from her divorce decree where Judge Roy Moore was the presiding judge. The people who were doing the forging, not realizing the epic mistake they were making, put too much of the signature in there. And it was easily identifiable. And so what happened after that? Well, we stopped hearing about it. We stopped hearing about the yearbook. As a matter of fact, most of the story is gone too. There's a little grumbling going on. But suddenly people realized that this was a put-up job, and that's exactly what it is. We'll see what happens next week. You've been listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our executive producer is the Philip Brown. Our technical producer is Mike Hawkins. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. See you again Monday for another edition of the Wells Report.
All right, sir. Good show.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
And next week we'll get with your guy and see what we can do about going forward, man.
Cool as can possibly be. Cool as the other side of the pillar.
That's right.
All right, my brother.
All right, man. Have a good weekend, man.
Take good care. I'll see you later.
All right. See you.
All right. Okay. So did you turn us off, Mike? Must have. Okay, thank you for, yes, you're welcome for my service. I am going to go have a great time this weekend in Austin, Texas, in service of the state of Texas. And until next time, have a fine time. God bless all y'all on this chat room. All 19. We had 19 people. I will drive safely. And you guys take good care. God bless all of you, and I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.